Hi everyone, what's up? It's Josh here from Alternative Brewing, and today we're going to be talking about immersion cold brewing versus drip cold brewing coffee. Now, cold brew coffee isn't a new thing, and in fact it's been travelling around the world in various forms for at least 400 years or so. And the way in which we brew it these days hasn't really changed much since then. Cold brewing coffee is a very practical way of brewing coffee at home, especially large amounts, with much less fuss and energy put into it than making hot brewed coffee. We know cold brew is almost always less bitter than hot brewed coffee, and is much smoother beverage, having less acidity, but similar, if not more, caffeine content, which I'll get to in a moment. Now, it's this exact notion and idea of cold brew that has of late been taking the world by storm. New coffee gear and tools are launching all the time with the intention of entering the thriving cold brew market. But with all this noise, it can be difficult to sift through and find the information that is most valuable and relevant to you. So let's break down the main differences between immersion cold brew and drip cold brewers so you don't have to do any more research in that subject again. But first, I'd love you guys to smash that like button on this video, as it does help with the YouTube algorithm, and we'd really appreciate it. Let's get started looking at the differences between the two. The two cold brew styles, drip and immersion, produce similar but not the same results. And their processes are quite different. One method may suit your lifestyle and flavour preferences more than the other, and that's what we're looking to find out. And we'll begin with the immersion method, as this is by far the most simplest way to brew coffee, period. It's practical, hands-off, and it's a forgiving process that produces a full-bodied cold brew coffee. To cold brew using this method, all you're doing is immersing coarsely ground coffee in cold water. That's it. And since cold water extracts oils, acids, sugars, and all the other yummy stuff we love in coffee very slowly, you'll want to leave the grounds submersed in the water anywhere from 8 to 24 hours. And I personally haven't discovered any benefits from leaving it sit longer than 24 hours. If you store the mixture in the fridge while it brews, the temperature of the extraction will drop and the coffee will require more time to produce a strong flavour and a pleasant balance. So upwards of 24 hours. But if you brew it on the kitchen counter, the process will generally require less than 12 hours. Once that time is up though, you just need to filter the coffee grounds out of the brewed coffee, and this can be done with just about any type of coffee filter, though not all filters will produce the same results. Metal filters and ceramic filters, for example, will produce more slight oily body and let through some undissolved solids, contributing to a stronger brew, while using paper filters will hold back the oils and contribute to a cleaner body. And since it's not an overly technical process, there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to your choice of brewing vessels. And many people will just use their French press, but there are several products that have been released in recent years that make immersion cold brewing a little easier than it already is. Now, immersion brewers like the Hario cold brew pot or brew jar allow you to fill a removable filter with coffee grounds, and then you can lift it up and out when the brewing is complete. I'm a big fan of these style brewers, and the Hario cold brew pot is as easy as it gets. Other products, such as the Toddy cold brew system or the Dripster 2-in-1, work by filling a chamber of coffee grounds and water together, and you open a valve underneath that chamber when the brewing is complete, causing the coffee to drain through the filter into a separate container. Now, either of these immersion styles tends to work best at producing a coffee concentrate rather than a ready-to-drink coffee straight from the decanter. And this means that you can dilute the coffee concentrate with water, add ice, or you can get creative with other ingredients and begin adding your own favorite milks, tonics, or even sodas to create coffee cocktails. And now we've got more coffee. So your takeaways from immersion brewing should be that it's a hands-off process. So long as you filter out the grind sufficiently, it will take overnight or half a day to brew, but it's always usually a full-bodied brew that's more akin to that concentrate. Remembering you can store cold brew coffee, whether it's immersion or drip, in the fridge for 2 weeks. You can have it on demand when you need coffee, and I'm okay with saying you can even heat up cold brew coffee to enjoy a hot brew if you prefer it that way. Drip cold brew coffee, on the other hand, is more labour intensive than immersion method, but in some ways it is more convenient. Instead of having to wait 12 plus hours for your cold brew to steep, you can have a delicious drip coffee in as little as 2 to 5 hours. Flavour-wise, drip coffee does tend to be a little lighter and brighter than immersion cold brew coffee, which I'm saying is you can drink it straight, but the drip brew takes less time because of the way the mechanics work. Ice cold water is slowly dripped onto a bed of coarsely ground coffee. and water slowly makes its way through the coffee, extracting all the good stuff as it passes through a filter into the carafe below. The best analogy I've got of these two methods is, if you can imagine putting some food coloring in a sponge. And if you submerge that sponge, the color will slowly seep out, but it'll take a while for the water to change colors. This is immersion brewing. But if you run fresh water over the sponge, that falling water will grab hold of the food coloring and drag it out relatively quickly. And this is more akin to that drip cold brewing. The water drops are geared for extraction and they pull things out of the grounds quicker. Now, quickly for drip cold brewing is still 2 to 5 hours, but that's nothing compared to the overnight or a full day of immersion cold brewing, which can sometimes be too long to wait for coffee. Drip cold brewing isn't as accessible as immersion brewing though, since the process does require you to control the drip rate of water onto the coffee very slowly. I'm talking like a drip a second. And you'll need some specialized equipment to get you started. So if you've got plenty of room, you may want to opt into one of those beautiful tower style drippers, and you should check out the Yama or Tiamo cold dripper range. These will do anywhere from 10 cups to 25 cup brews. These fancy looking brewers are fascinating to look at and can really transform a cafe or kitchen space. But there are some lower profile drip brewers too, such as the Hario Shizuku, the Brewer, or the Dripster, which we'd say is one of the best value cold drip brewer makers on the market today. And these all brew around 600 mils of coffee, which is enough for about 8 cups or so. Now you can brew a concentrate with this style of cold brew dripping too, but it's difficult to reach the same level of concentrate that immersion brewers can achieve. Either changing the coffee to water ratio, grinding finer, or using a hot pre-infusion of coffee prior to the beginning of drips will help brew a stronger cup. But your takeaways of drip brewing should be that you can have a brew finished within 3 to 5 hours. And it's more of a medium bodied brew, which means you can drink it straight away undiluted. And they are way more of a visually stunning piece of equipment that can easily ally even the strongest advocate of hot coffee. One more great tip for cold brew coffee here, and that is use whatever roasted coffee you want. Whether it's espresso roast, filter roast, dark roast, light roast, store-bought coffee, pre-ground coffee, really old coffee you found in the back of your nana's cupboard, you almost can't go wrong with a bitter-free, low acidic, delicious cold brew coffee. Trust me, I've done it thousands of times. But let's go back to that caffeine content question. How much caffeine really is in cold brew? Well, it seems like cold brew is jam-packed full of caffeine. And there is some truth into that. The brewing method itself does extract slightly more, but no more significant than espresso coffee, except we're usually drinking more volume of cold brew concentrates in beverages perhaps less diluted than a hot brewed latte or long black with milk or water. And in this way, we get more caffeine content in the same amount of liquid, so it would be like having a quad shot latte, which blows anyone's head off. So the question still remains though, which cold brew is right for you? One of these brewing styles is going to suit your lifestyle and flavour preferences more than the other. Immersion brewing is excellent if you're looking for a forgiving hands-off method that you can start and come back the next day. And these brewers are affordable, simple to use, and can produce a very concentrated form of cold brew that can be used to make iced coffee, iced lattes, or other creative drinks. I'm thinking like espresso martinis. But drip cold brewing is great for you if you're interested in a hands-on method that can give you a rich and balanced cold brew coffee in just a few hours. And these brewers require more tinkering, but they are beautiful to brew with, rewarding to use, and produce a less intense, yet still versatile cold brew coffee concentrate. Now the answer should be becoming more clear to you. Will you go the robust, forgiving, and lengthy immersion method, or will you go the hands-on, rewarding, yet stylish drip method? Let me know what you prefer. And if you have any questions on either of these methods, throw a comment below and we'll get straight back to you. Thanks for watching till the end of this video, and we'll see you next time.